Okay, you ready to be angry? Daily Beast has a shocking report out today on the group that fueled Dylan Roof's terrorism in Charleston. It turns out the Council of Conservative Citizens, as it's called, is a, quote, white nationalist group subsidized by American taxpayers. So the group that this guy got his racist ideology from, the group that he says opened his eyes to the problem, this is a group that gets money from you and me. Okay, how could this have happened? They say, quote, the Council of Conservative Citizens is listed by the Internal Revenue Service as a non-profit organization that promotes social welfare, also known as a 501c4. Because, getting rid of those blacks, that would be social welfare. Such groups pay no federal taxes, a form of government subsidy. All right, here's the real IRS scandal. Republicans were looking for an IRS scandal that didn't exist. Well, here's one that actually exists. Remember what their argument was. They said, well, the government is only cracking down on conservative groups, so they're discriminating, so there's a huge story, let's all get outraged about it. But then, if you actually read the articles on it, you find out very quickly, they actually scrutinize liberal groups more! And any scrutiny that any Tea Party group was under, they still ended up getting whatever status they wanted. They all got status as social welfare groups, whereas some liberal groups did not. So if anything, the real scandal is they were harder on liberals. No, but it's just conservatives were angry because the government or the IRS dared to take two looks at groups that were Tea Party groups that were openly against taxes. Groups where the leaders of the group said stuff like, I want there to be no federal taxes. The IRS was like, well, maybe we should look and make sure they're paying their taxes and doing the right thing. And conservatives went, how dare you? How irrational are you? For fuck's sake, that makes perfect sense. And again, if anything, the scandal is on the opposite side because they saw that these guys aren't social welfare groups, but they gave them the categorization of social welfare groups anyway. So that's the scandal. The scandal is they weren't hard enough on them, but the conservatives made it seem like, no, the scandal is they were too hard on them. So here's your real IRS scandal. Apparently, we're subsidizing white nationalist racist groups. That's a scandal! That's a scandal! They say, quote, the Council of Conservative Citizens explains on its website that its members believe that the American people and government should remain European in their composition and character. We also oppose all efforts to mix the races of mankind. You paid for this group. It came out of your tax dollars. This group is subsidized. This group is subsidized. I'm speechless. It doesn't happen often on a talk show on SecularTalk, but this got me there. The Daily Beast says, groups that espouse hate can be stripped of their tax-exempt status, said Marcus Owens, who ran the IRS's Exempt Organizations Division in the 1990s. That happened to the neo-Nazi group National Alliance in 1982. Okay, pause again to reflect on this. This is mentioned in the Daily Beast article as if, oh, good, we fixed this problem before. But my takeaway from that is the opposite. There was a point in time in the 1980s when we were subsidizing neo-Nazi groups too! So it's not just white nationalist groups, which maybe are slightly less bad, because at least they try to cover their racism a little bit more, although not really. But the neo-Nazi groups, they were also tax-exempt status. Here, subsidy for you. Quote, Republicans in Congress have made it virtually impossible for the IRS to revoke the tax-exempt status of political groups after the recent so-called Tea Party scandal. Republicans criticized the IRS for what they said was inexcusable targeting of conservative 501c4s. The irony is overwhelming. We might not be able to strip this white nationalist racist group of tax-exempt status. We might have to continue to subsidize them because the Republicans are blocking it because of the previous non-existent IRS scandal. And then people are going to have the nerve, they're going to have the nerve to try to say, Well, I mean, racism, it's equal in both parties. Or why would you say there's a link between the Republican Party and these white nationalists? How dare you generalize in such a gross way? I'm giving you facts. There's no generalization here at all. I'm giving you facts. How about the other facts that we learned too? That the leader of the conservative, the CCC, by the way, again, what does that sound like? KKK. That was on purpose. That was on purpose they did that. The leader of the group donated to Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and a bunch of other candidates. Now, to their credit, a lot of them gave the money back. But there's an article out today talking about Rand Paul specifically, how in 2010 he was asked to give the money back, and he said, no, I'm not going to give it back. Now that there's the big scandal and there's the terrorist attack associated with it, he's like, oh, yeah, no, I didn't even know. Here, take the money. Oh, my God, man. They get mad at Obama when Obama knows a Palestinian professor, not a terrorist, not a Hamas sympathizer, nothing, none of that whatsoever. They get mad that he knows somebody who happens to be Palestinian. They go, terrorist connection, terrorist, pals around with terrorists. Some Republicans literally get funding from a group called the CCC, an offshoot of the KKK, that came about to oppose desegregation. They take money from that group. We give them tax-exempt status. And they go, no connection here. None whatsoever.